You know that feeling when you're just inexplicably tired, even after what should have been enough rest?
Yeah, or maybe you catch yourself thinking, wow, I seem to be aging faster than I'd like.
Exactly. Well, what if I told you a seemingly simple mineral could be playing a much bigger role in, well, all of that than you ever imagined?
That's precisely the question we're diving deep into today. We're exploring the fascinating world of magnesium. It's a nutrient that has a truly profound influence on everything, from your daily energy levels to, yeah, how well you age.
We've spent some serious time digging through some really insightful research on magnesium, and our goal today is to unpack all that science and make it clear for you.
Right. We want to show you why getting enough magnesium is so vital for staying healthy, for feeling your best as you get older.
And we'll pull out the key practical takeaways.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
And where better to start than, like, the very foundation of life itself, energy production, inside your cells.
Right.
It might sound a bit dramatic, but it's basically true. Your cells simply cannot generate the energy they need to function without enough magnesium. It's a non-negotiable requirement.
Think of those tiny powerhouses inside your cells, the mitochondria. The information we've been looking at really emphasizes that their ability to create energy is directly tied to how much magnesium is actually available.
Mm.
And this is a huge takeaway, right? Magnesium is like the master key for nearly 300 different vital processes in your body. Without it, these processes just can't run effectively.
That's absolutely right. We're talking about almost 0.5% of all the enzymes in your body relying on magnesium to just do their jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, and these enzymes drive countless metabolic processes within our cells, the very things that, keep us alive and functioning.
Okay, so one of the clearest examples of this, something maybe folks remember from high school biology, is glycolysis.
Yeah, glycolysis, that's where glucose, our body's main fuel, starts to get broken down into another molecule called pyruvate.
Right, and that pyruvate then heads into the mitochondria for the big energy payoff through the Krebs cycle, ultimately making ATP.
ATP, yeah, the energy currency of the cell. And here's where magnesium acts as an absolutely essential helper, a cofactor for key enzymes in that glycolysis pathway.
Like hexokinase and
Hexokinase and phosphofructokinase, exactly. Think of it like this. Glucose needs breaking down step by step, and magnesium is basically the key that turns these enzymes on, making sure the whole process runs smoothly.
But it doesn't stop there, does it? Beyond just those metabolic enzymes, the research also highlights magnesium's crucial role for lots of tiny channels and transporters within the cell.
Specifically, those involved in actually generating the ATP inside the mitochondria.
So even a slight dip in magnesium can kind of throw a wrench in the whole energy production system.
Precisely. And when your cells can't produce energy efficiently because you're low in magnesium, it touches on something really fundamental. I mean, it's the difference between life and, well, not life, isn't it? The ability of our cells to generate energy.
Yeah, it underpins everything.
Yeah.
Now, here's a connection that honestly really surprised me. The relationship between magnesium and vitamin D.
Ah, yes. The dynamic duo.
They seem much more like partners than I realized.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is how they work together synergistically. Adequate magnesium levels actually make it easier for your body to maintain healthy vitamin D levels.
So you could be taking vitamin D supplements, getting sun.
Right. You could be diligent about taking your vitamin D, spending time in the sun, but if your magnesium levels aren't up to scratch, your body might still struggle to get the full benefit of that vitamin D.
The information we looked at even mentioned this interesting observation. Something like half the population seemed to have insufficient levels of both vitamin D and magnesium.
Yeah, roughly half. That certainly suggests they might be linked, doesn't it?
It really does.
And the evidence strongly points that way. The key lies in how your body actually uses vitamin D. Magnesium helps activate the enzymes that convert vitamin D3, the form you get from supplements or sun, into 25-hydroxyvitamin D. That's the form doctors actually measure in your blood to check your vitamin D status.
Ah, okay. So this could explain those situations we hear about, people taking high doses of D or living somewhere really sunny like Andalusia was mentioned.
Exactly, Andalusia. Perfect example. They're outdoors, getting sun, maybe even supplementing, yet their blood tests still show low levels of 25-hydroxyvitamin D.
And magnesium could be the culprit.
In many of those cases, a magnesium deficiency could very well be the missing piece. And if that is the issue, then co-supplementing, taking both magnesium and vitamin D, can often make a big difference.
Our sources mention there are even combination supplements available, which makes sense.
Yeah, convenient options exist.
Okay, this naturally brings us to the big question. Why? Why might we not be getting enough magnesium in the first place? It seems pretty important.
Well, the primary culprit, according to the research we reviewed, seems to be our modern diet. Specifically, a lack of sufficient vegetables, especially those dark leafy greens.
Right, because magnesium is in chlorophyll, the green stuff.
Exactly, it's a key component.
And it's not just about, what we're eating now. The information also touched on soil depletion, didn't it? Over the last, 40, 50 years?
Yeah, that's a really concerning point. It means even the vegetables we do eat might not pack the same magnesium punch they did, say, back in our grandparents' time.
That's sobering.
It is. And there are other factors too. Things like issues in your gut microbiome dysbiosis, they call it. That can make it harder for your body to absorb nutrients like magnesium properly.
And stress. You mentioned stress.
And definitely stress. Our fast-paced, often stressful lives can seriously contribute to depleting our magnesium reserves. We'll circle back to that.
Okay. But first, absorption. The sources mentioned we only absorb about, 50% of that magnesium we eat? Maybe even less.
Yeah, around 50% is a good estimate, but it can be lower, especially if someone has digestive issues. That's a really important point to remember.
And some common medications interfere too, like acid blockers.
Yes, exactly. Proton pump inhibitors, those drugs that reduce stomach acid, can significantly hinder magnesium absorption, something many people might not be aware of.
Okay, so leafy greens are top tier. But for those of us maybe not hitting our 5-a-day in greens, what are other reliable food sources?
Good question. While dark leafy greens are fantastic, you can absolutely find magnesium in things like legumes, beans, lentils, also nuts, seeds, whole grains, and even oily fish.
But there's a catch with whole grains, right? Something about phytates.
That's right. Whole grains contain compounds called phytates, which can kind of bind to magnesium and reduce how much your body actually absorbs. They still provide some magnesium, but it might not be as bioavailable, as readily usable by the body.
Okay, good to know. So we know where to find it, roughly how much we absorb. But it sounds like some people might need even more magnesium than the general recommendations. Who are we talking about there?
Yeah, the research specifically highlighted athletes and individuals who sweat a lot. Think intense exercise, regular sauna use.
Hot yoga, maybe?
Could be, yeah. Anyone with high sweat rates. These groups might need anywhere from 10 to 20% more magnesium than the standard daily recommendations.
And remind us of those standard numbers again.
Generally, it's around 300 to 320 milligrams per day for women and 400 to 420 milligrams for men.
Okay, so if you take a male endurance athlete needing potentially 20% more, that could push them up towards, 500 milligrams a day.
Easily.
Oh.
Up to 500 milligrams potentially. And hitting that consistently through diet alone, that can be pretty challenging for many people.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially when you compare it to what people actually eat, those surveys, like NANEs.
Exactly. Those nutritional surveys often show average magnesium intake is significantly lower than even the baseline recommendations, like women averaging just over 200 milligrams, men maybe just over 300 milligrams.
Wow, so there's a big gap there for many people.
A significant gap. It suggests that many individuals, especially those with higher activity levels and increased sweat loss, probably aren't getting enough. Bottom line, the more active you are, the more you sweat, the higher your magnesium needs likely are.
Okay, let's circle back to stress now. You mentioned it depletes magnesium. I'm really interested in understanding that link better. Chronic stress feels like, the default mode for so many of us.
It really does. And the research explains that stress actually causes increased magnesium loss from the body through urine. It's a similar mechanism to what happens with conditions like diabetes or with heavy alcohol consumption or even using diuretic medications.
So given how widespread chronic stress is...
Yeah, given how common it is, this could be a major reason why suboptimal magnesium levels are so prevalent.
So how does it work? How does being stressed actually make us pee out more magnesium?
Well, essentially, magnesium is a crucial player in the body's stress response system itself. When we're stressed, our bodies demand more magnesium.
Why?
Because it's essential for the enzymes that help convert stored energy, our fats, our carbohydrates, into readily available fuel. It's needed to deal with the stressor, whatever it is. Think of magnesium as being vital for, revving up your body's engine when it perceives a threat or challenge.
Okay, that makes sense. So those ongoing stressors, not getting enough sleep, constant noise pollution, relationship difficulties, maybe unresolved traumas.
Exactly. All of those things could be contributing to lower magnesium levels over the long haul.
And the research hinted that this sustained stress response and the magnesium drain that comes with it might even be linked to physical health problems down the line.
Yes, the suggestion is there. A potential link between that constant on state and the development of various physical illnesses. It really highlights that intricate connection between our mental state and our physical health. Magnesium sits right at that crossroads.
This is all really insightful and honestly a little bit concerning when you think about modern life. But let's shift gears slightly to another vital role mentioned in the sources: magnesium's involvement in DNA repair.
Yeah, this is a really critical point. We can't completely eliminate the risk of diseases like cancer, obviously, but we can certainly take steps to support our body's natural defense mechanisms. And that absolutely includes how well our DNA gets repaired.
Our DNA is constantly getting damaged, right? Just through normal processes.
Constantly experiencing errors, yes. But thankfully, our cells have these sophisticated repair systems proteins that are always scanning, identifying, and fixing these errors to maintain, cellular health and homeostasis.
And magnesium is needed to keep those repair systems working properly. It's not the only factor, but it's a controllable one.
Precisely. Magnesium deficiency, as the research indicates, can actually weaken these essential DNA repair processes. Remember those 300-odd enzymes we mentioned?
Yeah.
Well, several of them are directly involved in repairing DNA and maintaining what scientists call genomic stability.
Genomic stability, meaning keeping the DNA functioning correctly.
Basically, yes. Ensuring our DNA functions correctly over time and preventing errors that could lead to the development of potentially harmful, like cancerous cells.
The sources even mentioned this is a huge research area itself: magnesium and cancer. Maybe a topic for another time.
Definitely could be. But the key takeaway for today is that getting enough magnesium helps our bodies maintain the integrity of our genetic code by supporting those cellular repair mechanisms. That's pretty powerful stuff when you think about longevity.
It really is. And it leads us naturally to another crucial area: bone health, preventing things like osteoporosis and osteopenia.
Yes. Most people immediately think calcium for bones, right?
Totally. Calcium and maybe vitamin D.
Right. But magnesium is just as critical, perhaps even in ways we don't fully appreciate day to day. The research states that around two-thirds of all the magnesium in our bodies is stored right there in our skeletal system.
Wow, so our bones are like a magnesium bank account.
Exactly. Think of them as a major reservoir. Our blood levels of magnesium are kept in a really tight range, very carefully regulated.
Okay.
And if those blood levels dip too low, guess where the body goes to get more?
It pulls it from the bones.
It pulls it from the bones to top up the blood.
So consistently not getting enough magnesium through diet or supplements could be silently, slowly depleting our bone density over time.
That's the concern, precisely. And magnesium isn't just passively stored there. It has a direct role in the actual mineralization of the bone matrix itself, the structure of the bone.
So a long-term deficiency means weaker, more fragile bones, even if you're getting enough calcium or exercising.
It can definitely contribute to that, yes.
So-
Even with adequate calcium and exercise, low magnesium can undermine bone strength. And interestingly, after bone, muscle is the next biggest storage site for magnesium.
That makes sense, given its role in energy and muscle function. Now, it's easy to just think about bones in terms of, breaking them, fracture risk. But the information we looked at mentioned a broader role. That bone is actually living, active tissue.
Absolutely. Bone isn't just inert scaffolding. It's a dynamic, living tissue that also acts kind of like an endocrine organ, a signaling center.
How so?
Well, bones secrete hormones, like one called osteocalcin. And this hormone, osteocalcin, actually travels through the blood and has effects on various other organs and systems, including our muscles, brain, pancreas, reproductive organs, even the liver.
Wow. So bone health is really central to overall systemic health, not just preventing breaks.
It really underscores how fundamental bone health is to our overall well-being, way beyond just fracture risk.
And this all ties back again to that partnership between vitamin D and magnesium, especially for bones.
It does, perfectly. Vitamin D is essential for helping our bodies absorb calcium and mineralized bone. But as we discussed earlier, the enzymes that process and activate vitamin D,
Need magnesium.
they need magnesium to function correctly. And it's not just vitamin D. Other hormones important for bone, like parathyroid hormone, PTH, also rely on magnesium-dependent enzymes.
So good magnesium levels support bone health, both directly by being part of the structure
Yeah.
and indirectly by making sure the whole vitamin D system is working robustly.
You've got it. Both direct and indirect support for strong, healthy bones.
Wow, okay. This deep dive into magnesium has really opened my eyes. It feels like it's involved in almost everything.
It truly is quite remarkable. And just to quickly recap the key points for everyone listening, magnesium is absolutely vital for producing energy at the most basic cellular level.
Yep, the mitochondria fuel,
It's a critical partner in how our bodies actually use vitamin D effectively.
the activation step.
It plays an important role in modulating our response to stress, which is huge in modern life.
Preventing that constant drain.
It helps maintain the integrity of our DNA through supporting those repair mechanisms.
Protecting our genetic blueprint.
And, as we just discussed, it's a fundamental building block for strong, healthy, and even metabolically active bones.
So for you listening, it's definitely worth taking a moment to, reflect on your own diet and lifestyle. Are you regularly getting those magnesium-rich foods? Leafy greens, nuts, seeds.
Right. And are there factors in your life like chronic stress, maybe intense physical activity, lots of sweating that might be increasing your personal need for this incredibly important mineral?
Yeah. And this brings up a fascinating question to maybe leave our listeners with, something to ponder. We didn't get into it specifically, but it builds on everything we've discussed.
Go on.
Given how incredibly far-reaching magnesium's influence seems to be, what other, maybe seemingly unrelated aspects of our health and well-being might be subtly influenced by whether or not we're actually getting enough?
Ooh, that's a good one. Or maybe put another way. If keeping our magnesium levels optimal is so fundamental, what simple shifts, what small changes in our daily routines could potentially have the biggest positive ripple effect on our long-term health span?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely some food for thought there.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a truly enlightening deep dive. Really fascinating stuff.
Agreed. Always more to learn about these essential nutrients.
Absolutely. Until our next exploration, take good care, everyone.